Hello, dear viewers. Today we're back again on live conversation on ALLATRA TV. Today we have a very special guest, Deegan from Ireland. So we changed our time a little bit just so we can have Debbie here on live stream with us today. Before we get Debbie the word to introduce herself, we wanted to say that in the format of this communication, we are using the rule of 6 handshakes to find the person that Debbie would like to meet. She's gonna tell us who that person is at the end of our program. And we're gonna ask the viewers to pass this video along to see if it gets to the person using 3 hashtags: Allatraunites, Creative Society, and Stay Home. And now I would like to introduce Debbie, who is a founder of a charity to Children with Love, speaker, an author, and a winner of multiple awards. Debbie, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? We're happy to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's lovely to reach out to you across the world at this very strange time in all of our lives, actually. I'm a mother, and I live in Ireland, and Russia really is my second home. I've been there for 21 years working. And I started an organization called, originally it was called Wrację z Lubowią, To Russia with Love. And we recently changed the name to Children with Love because we took on other organizations outside of Russia. So, but to be honest with you, my heart is in Russia. I think in my previous life, I might have been a Russian woman somehow. I don't know if that's possible, but I think somehow I might have been a Russian woman in a previous life. I work with orphaned children with no parents, and they're the most beautiful children you could imagine. I'm blessed to know them, and I'm honored to be able to work in their lives. You know, my story is so long, I could keep you going here for hours. So I went to Russia 21 years ago to find a little girl that had stayed in my home after the Chernobyl tragedy. Children were staying in people's homes in Ireland, and we don't have any orphanages in our country for 50 years. So I had heard about orphanages, obviously, but I'd never seen one. And we took these little girls into our home, and after they left us, I decided to go to Russia to try and find them, just to say hello, really, because I felt we had created a bond. And I walked through the gates of my first orphanage in 1998, and I just could not believe that there was like 250 children that had no parents. It was a very hard time in Russia. 1998 was a very difficult time in Russia, and the economy had crashed and the ruble was in a very bad condition. But I didn't know any of that. I just knew that Russia was this kind of terrifying country, that everybody was afraid of Russians because they always looked so cranky. And we're all a bit scared of Russians in the West, and they're not inclined to be smilers, whereas Irish are smilers. And I didn't realize at the time, Russians kind of think that smiley people are a bit dopey. So of course we're definitely smilers from Ireland. So we went into the orphanage, of course, and we were hugging and kissing and smiling, and you know, and at the time the people hadn't been paid in 6 months. They were worn out, were exhausted, they were stressed out. The children were stressed out. Conditions were terrible. And to be honest with you, I kind of felt really from the very first day I was there that I fell in love, really. And to be honest, I've been having a love affair with Russia ever since. I read a book last year by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And the book is called The Big Magic. It's a great book. And she talks about when opportunities come towards you, you know, some people let them go past, and some people hold on to them and do not let them go. And when you feel that passionate about opportunity, you can make great things happen. And to be honest with you, that's probably exactly what happened to me the very first day I walked through the gates of Portalova Orphanage. And to me, it was just like a huge opportunity. And we had no money. I'm not wealthy, and but we had love. We had buckets, plane loads of love. And we made a decision that we were going to stay. And initially, my dream was to build the most beautiful children's home in the world, because I thought I was looking at the worst thing I'd ever seen. Broken windows, no heating system, filthy, dirty mattresses. All the children were bedwetters, shaved heads, teeth that had never been washed in years. Very aggressive, bigger children, very institutionalized. It was like a nightmare to me as a mother. And initially, we started off rebuilding the place. I had that kind of foolish idea, you know, let's paint it pink, let's buy the new frilly curtains, and all the problems will be solved. And then I realized, after about a year of the material side of it, I decided that we needed to rebuild the children as a matter of urgency rather than the place itself. So Irish people are very generous and very trusting. We set up a charity and we started fundraising in Ireland. And we've been fundraising in Ireland for the last 21 years nearly for the same group. I still have the same group of children with me. So I know them all. I know, and now a lot of them have gone on to have children. So we have multiple grandchildren. And in my 21 years there, like the national statistics back then, Putin was just taken over as president, and he really did inherit a huge, huge problem of orphanage children. There was 850,000 children. It was a huge problem. And they've done a lot of work on that over the last 20 years. We've seen huge changes in the last 20 years, but we inherited a huge problem. It's taken years to change it. And fostering is a very difficult business. It's a very, very difficult business. You have to foster because you love children, not because you love money. The problem with fostering is a lot of people foster just because it's good money. That's a problem, because the children then become a nuisance in their homes.
Right. So we can see that the society is actually more like a consumer society, right? So when we look at even the problems like that, it becomes like this consumerism versus, you know, love and kindness and understanding. And how important is it to have those human qualities and to display them?
Well, you see, I mean, obviously you have to in the beginning, I didn't understand Russia at all. I didn't know. I vaguely knew what communism was because I'd read it in a history book. This much, like 5 lines. I had no idea of the pain of Russia. I had no idea of the millions of men that had died in the war, because we don't get all that history in the Western world. You know, I mean, without Russians in the Second World War, we'd all be speaking German now, you know. You know, so we've a different picture in the West of reality in Russia. And so in the beginning, I used to judge, why are the toilets filthy? Why are you not working harder? Why are these children not being loved enough? Why do they not, you know? But I didn't realize at the time that people hadn't been paid in 6 months. I didn't realize that all the parents, the biggest problem at the time was alcoholism. And so a lot of the parents after communism or wherever could cope with reality. And so they were drinking, and then the children were taken on them and put into institutions. Like, I didn't know the whole history behind it, really. To be honest with you, I didn't really care too much. We are not a religious organization. We're not a political organization. So we weren't a threat to anybody there. We weren't a threat to the government. I felt my job was to work with the local administration in the area I was in, get to know my local governor, and make him trust me so that he would allow me use money, Irish money, and Russian staff and Irish staff to make strategic change to the children's lives. And I felt that, personally, the children were so beautiful that and had so much potential that wasn't being used. I felt it was a shame for Russia's future. These children were not being used. Like, at the time, girls could be plasterers and boys could be bricklayers, and that was really the limit. They couldn't really go beyond that. And I felt if they wanted to be an astronaut, let them be an astronaut. If they wanted to be a ballerina, let them be a ballerina. So I was at a dinner party one night in Russia, and I was sitting talking to the man beside me. I said to him, "What do you do?" He said, "A cosmonaut." And I said, "Oh my God, we don't have cosmonauts in Ireland. And I said to him, oh my God, you've got to come to the orphanage with me and talk to the children and tell them what, there's no boundaries. So who better to tell these children that? So he came the next day, and in all his beautiful, admirals, the way they've got very fancy uniforms, and he brought home movies of him actually going to Mir, the space station. And he told the children that they shouldn't see boundaries. And we started a program then called Reach for the Stars. And our children went on to be doctors and lawyers and teachers, but more importantly, they went on to be very good mothers and fathers. And in my 20 years, one of our girls has put any of their children or their babies ever back into baby home. So we broke that cycle completely with our children. So we've very successful children, absolutely.
That is such an inspiring story, and so amazing what you do for, not just Russia, but what you do for the world, because you inspire other people to act in kindness as well. And can you tell us, I know you said that some of the things are not being projected in the media correctly, or some of the things are not being told exactly as they are. So what do you think in the future, like what can you envision our media to be like, so we do get this truthful information? Can you share with us?
We're all victims of the media at the moment in the world we're in. I'm not sure. There's huge propaganda in Russia, and there's huge propaganda in Ireland, and there's huge propaganda in America. And I'm not a fan of Donald Trump at all, but when he created the term fake news, it was a phrase that sticks in all of our heads, because every country probably produces their own fake news. I'd like to think in my country we have transparent press. We have freedom of speech, and we're allowed to say anything we want to say, and we're not punished for or penalized for it in Ireland. And I know some really, really good journalists. And then we have some really crappy papers as well that, turn out rubbish. But when it worries me so much when I watch CNN and I watch Fox News and I watch what's happening in America at the moment, and I listen to what people are listening to, from the top down, me the misinformation. And I don't know how you break that.
But what do you, I know we don't know how to change the vector, but how do you envision, how do you think, like, in a society, in a creative and constructive society, how do you think the media should be? How can we benefit from it? Just as, a vision. Well,
I think the media, I don't know how you make them. They shouldn't be pressurized by any government official to say anything. That's for sure. Just should have absolutely freedom of speech. And there should be no pressure on any journalist ever. They should be able to walk down the street knowing they've said anything that was truth and not bullshit. Because they can write anything on Facebook. They can write anything and nobody knows whether it's true or not. We've no idea what we're reading is true. We've no idea. And they make up, and now with all of these trolls, they're making up brilliant news stories that we think that sounds really, really truthful. And it's absolutely the opposite. So I'm not sure going forward. I do think, though, that people, I did a TEDx talk recently in London, and I did, in my talk, my main message actually at the very end was, what can we all do to make this a better world? And I said to people that day when I was leaving, what is the one thing you can all do? Just pick one thing that you do to make the world a better world, because we are more powerful than we think we are, all of us. And we shouldn't be sheep. We need to educate ourselves and use our brains and not be sheep. And I think that's really what we need to do. And, I'm a very ordinary person. I'm a very ordinary mother. I live a very ordinary life. Well, I don't really, to be honest, but I have a very ordinary background. And yet myself and my team of people that are with me in Russia and in Ireland, we've projects in Ireland as well, we've changed the lives of thousands of children. And we are mums and dads. That's all we are. We're not trained humanitarians. We're not like, you know, trained at negotiating with Russians or Americans or whatever. We are just, we love children. We're passionate about it. We never, ever give up. And resilience is definitely something we use as a tool all the time. We're very resilient. When we fall, we get up again and again. We're very annoying from that point of view, Irish people. We're like, I don't know if you, like, we're like a dog with a bone. When we want to achieve something, we stop at nothing to achieve it. And I think that's a good thing. And that's why I'm 21 years in Russia. I mean, you know, not many organizations survive 21 years in Russia. But for me, it's been a pleasure to work there. They've made it a pleasure for us to work there. And it's because they know we're not in it for any other reason other than kindness and to help children. We're not there for ego. We're not there to get more children reading Bibles. We're not there for any political reason. We're there to give children a better future. And the Russians truly believe that we are there for that. And that's why they've allowed us to stay for 21 years. I think people are more powerful than they realize. We need to stop being sheep. We need to use our own brains. We need to all educate ourselves more, read more, find out facts. Just read a post on Facebook and think that must be true. It's not necessarily true just because you read it on Facebook or hear it on Fox News. It's probably not true. So we need to understand that we have to educate ourselves and delve deeper to see what the real truth is. And then people, if we look at us all at the moment, we're all working together as one world at the moment. Well, not all of us, but you know, we're in Ireland, everybody's doing everything for everybody. We're all getting food to old people. We're all trying to help each other. We're all staying in our homes to keep our medical staff safe, all working together as one unit to try and kill Corona. And so we can work together. There's jumbo jets arriving in Ireland today coming from China. China are sending in like 280 million euros worth of masks, ventilators into Ireland today to help Ireland. And so we're working together. So we have to stop focusing on the things that separate us and focus on the things that bring us together, you know? And we have to stop with negativity and stop with racism and stop with sexism and concentrate on positivity and goodness and what we're able to do. There's far too much negativity in our world. It's horrible to watch it, particularly when it's coming from presidents, from our leaders. Like when I look at somebody like Jacinda Ardern, I admire her so much. She's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I think she's just one of my heroes, actually. I think she's open, honest, transparent. She has her people first. They have freedom of speech. Like, it's a small country. Well, it's not that small a country, but it's like, it's, you know, it's not up there in America is. But she's just one of my, I just think women, maybe we need more women in power. Maybe we need more women in power.
You know,
I'm not sure if that would make a difference.
Yeah, maybe. You know, you said a very inspiring thing just now that, you know, when we fall, we get up, and that's very important. Everybody makes mistakes, but that's how we got to learn from our mistakes. We got to get up and go towards our goal, and all together we can achieve so much if we're just, as you said, if we stop being quiet, if we spread positive, truthful information. And that is huge. And right now I'll ask, we made a little collage of some of your pictures. Maybe we can have it on the screen right now just so we can take a look at it. Oh, there it is. Yep, there you are on TEDx. And with books. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it, but yep, it's on the screen right now.
I can't see it.
It's on the screen.
You know,
go ahead.
Like I think I said this to you guys before at one stage. Evil thrives when good people do nothing. You know, and we all have to stand up and be counted. We have to stand, and if we see an injustice, we have to say we've seen an injustice. You know, and the other thing that's interesting with the coronavirus is that it sees no borders, so it takes down important people. You know, Tom Hanks was the first person to say he had it. A big important American celebrity was the first one to say he had it. And it sees no borders because really we are one race of people. how dare we think that people from Syria or people from Gaza or people from Palestine are less important than we are. We are one race of people. That's all we are. We're one race of people. Somebody drew borders one day with an old map sometime and separated us all. But we are one race of people, and it's too easy to turn away from problems. We all need to be more responsible for our Earth. Mother Earth is telling us with this virus that we're not doing it right. She's screaming. Mother Earth is screaming at the moment. And it's up to us to make sure that there's no more viruses and that we respect our Earth. We're not respecting our Earth, I don't think. There's too many wars, too much hatred, too much fighting, too much greed, too much globalization. We're all shopping too much. We're all buying too much. We don't need designer handbags, designer shoes. Who needs a $3,000 handbag? Nobody needs it. Absolutely nobody on this earth.
Especially now when we don't have just masks to put on the face and all of a sudden there's a $3,000 purse that someone buys. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I was just watching the news today, and it showed Delhi in India, and there's millions of people crushed into slums. They've no way of social distancing. They've no way of staying at home like us and watching TV and playing on their internet while they're bored. They're crushed into these slums, and they're producing all the junk that we're buying because we're forcing them to produce it. And yet those people are out there. When Corona hits them, they're in serious trouble, while we're sitting in our living rooms worried about, what are we going to do for the next 3 hours? What Netflix movie will we watch to pass the time? So we need to take more responsibility for the people on our planet.
Yes, I have to agree.
It's too easy to do nothing. We can't do nothing anymore. We've got to stand up and be counted, all of us. And I think we have to stop with the negativity. We shouldn't allow our president to use negative language. We shouldn't allow our leaders to use negative language. They should only be allowed to use positive language. They shouldn't be allowed to be racist. They shouldn't be homophobic. They shouldn't be sexist. We shouldn't allow it. We shouldn't accept it.
And we that's why here we thought usually we go and take interviews and ask people how they see the future, because if we don't start talking about it now, how we want to see it, that there is no goal, there is no end point to where we all need to go towards. And in the creative society, it needs to be done as the whole world. Like you said, we drew borders. There's no borders. All people are united. And that is why we decided to use this format of communication while we're all sitting at home. And, of course, this is a serious issue, and we respect this issue of the virus, and we have to stay home. And how important is it to even talk to each other at home? To, right here we are in America, we're talking to somebody in Ireland. We don't have any borders. Right now, with our technology, we can definitely do positive things. We can spread good news. We can spread good knowledge on the internet with the technology that we have. And I know that you do the same thing as well.
I know. Well, I mean, I started this thing last week. It's a ridiculous idea. It's called DDPK. It's Debbie Deegan's Pink Kitchen, where I'm sitting at the moment. And I was pretending it's a TV studio. And so I went on, just gone on Facebook posts, and I was having a rant about something. And then people were texting me and posting me and sending me messages. And then hundreds were watching it, and now thousands are watching it after a week. And I mean, Ireland's only a small country, but I think about 7,000 or 8,000 people have watched it in the last 7 days. And I'm interviewing people on Zoom, people that inspire me, but I don't want superheroes. Like I just want really inspirational, ordinary people that have done fabulous stuff in their life. I mean, I had a guy on the other day, and he was in prison when he was 16 and 17, and a really difficult childhood. He's Irish. And he turned his life around. Now he has children, and he's a professional athlete, and he's just amazing. And he's like so inspirational, and he's so ordinary. And he has been through so many challenges in his life. We were discussing Corona, and he's been through so many challenges in his life. And he was saying, like, just put your head down, mind your own business, get on with it. There's much worse things in the world that could be happening. But I've had different people on, and I have an 85-year-old woman on tomorrow. She's an artist, Pauline Buick. She's a fabulous Irish artist, and she's 85. She's an amazing person, but she's totally in tune with nature. And so I'm dying to talk to her. And she went to live in Bora Bora like 50 years ago when nobody went to Bora Bora, and particularly from Ireland, you can imagine. So it's been very interesting for me. But what I'm just doing is connecting. But more and more every day, there's more and more people sending me messages and positive, saying, "God, there's like a bit of positivity," because we're all exhausted with the negativity.
And yes, I have to agree. We need some positive information, especially now that when people are all staying home and they have the time to actually reflect on their life, to see what's important, to see how they want to live in the future, to see if they want to work, as many hours as they did. And all those things I think are kind of coming out right now, and we can see that. And maybe as we had the question for you earlier that I asked at the beginning, is there one person that you would like to meet? With using the rule of
there's many actually, but if I was to pick one, I'd pick Oprah. I would. She told a story 20 years ago. She told a story, and her story was that she thought she was a very ugly little girl. And I was watching my TV, and when she was like 3 or 4 years of age, she thought she was an ugly little thing. And she went to church one day, and a minister woman or preacher woman said to her, "You're as pretty as a speckled puppy." And she went home that day, and from that day forward, she thought she was beautiful because this important person had told her how beautiful she was. And this was 20 years ago, and I at the time was beginning to work with orphan children, and I had no idea really how to communicate with them. I didn't have any Russian language. And I learned how to say "Ti prekrasna," which is "you're beautiful." And my whole team learned it, and we all learned it. And so it was the first word we'd say to some little girl who had a shaved head, maybe some teeth missing, and nobody'd ever told her she was beautiful. And the children just rose up to it like flowers to water. And it was Oprah's message. And yeah, I would, because I think she's a powerful woman. And so yeah, I'd like to interview her on my in my pink kitchen, because at the moment she's doing interviews in her own home, different people through Zoom. So I think if she did an interview in my pink kitchen, it might put my tea program on a whole new level. So yeah, she'd be the one I'd pick definitely at the moment. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie. To our viewers, let's pass this video along to see if we can get to Oprah, to see if we can interview on our next episode with Debbie. And please use 3 hashtags so that we can follow this video to see how many times it got passed in order to get to her. And it's hashtag ALLATRAUnites, hashtag Creative Society, and hashtag Stay Home. And Debbie, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much for your inspiring story and for being such a love.
My pleasure.
At this difficult time.
My pleasure. And keep safe in America. Keep safe. Stay in. Wash your hands. Wash your hands all day long. That's what we're all doing here. Wash your hands all day long, everybody.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Have a
You're
good
welcome.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.